You know those epic gladiator movies? The hero, the honor, the roaring crowds? Yeah, let's just forget all of that for a minute. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the Hollywood fantasy to stare directly at the brutal, terrifying truth of what it meant to be a gladiator in ancient Rome. We're about to step into their world, and believe me, it is not a pretty picture.
Just let that sink in. Try to wrap your head around that. This wasn't a soldier heading into battle for a cause. This was a person waking up, knowing their potential death wasn't a tragedy. It was literally the main event. Their life was just a show.
And this, right here, this cuts right to the chase. The myth we've been sold is one of heroes making a choice to fight for glory. But the reality? Oh, it's a world away from that. The reality was that most gladiators were slaves, prisoners of war, or condemned criminals. They had no choice. This wasn't about glory. This was about survival, plain and simple. Let's be crystal clear about what a gladiator actually was. They weren't seen as respected warriors. They were property, an asset, something to be bought, sold, and used up. Their whole life was micromanaged by the Roman elite, what they ate, where they slept, and when they would be forced to fight. Their humanity was basically engineered out of them until only one thing was left: the instinct to survive.
So, how do you take a human being and turn them into a public killing machine? Well, you send them to the crucible. The process started in these absolutely brutal training schools, the ludus.
The training was just relentless. I mean, every single day, it was the same grueling routine. Endless drills with heavy wooden weapons, pushing your body way past its limits. Pain was just a normal part of life. Injuries were basically ignored. And if you showed any weakness, the punishment was severe. But look at that last step, fostering distrust. That was maybe the cruelest part of the whole thing.
And that quote says it all, doesn't it? It explains the profound isolation these men lived in. You're training with these guys, eating with them, sleeping in the same barracks, but you can never, ever trust them because the man you're sparring with on Tuesday could be the man you're forced to kill on Saturday. There was no real friendship, just a constant, gnawing paranoia. So if you managed to survive being broken down and rebuilt in the training school, your final test was waiting. And it was a place way more terrifying than any training yard, the arena itself. Just try to imagine the sensory assault. You walk out of a dark, narrow tunnel into this blindingly bright arena, and the roar from tens of thousands of people hits you like a physical wave. The air is thick with the smell of sweat, hot sand, and blood. It was absolute chaos, and it was all designed to overwhelm you before a single weapon was even drawn.
And the danger could come from anywhere. Sometimes, sure, it was another gladiator, just as skilled and just as desperate as you were. But other times, a gate would creak open, and out would come a starving lion or a bear, driven mad with hunger and meant to create a bloodbath for the cheering spectators. But the most dangerous threat of all wasn't even on the sand with you. It's the most important question you could ask in that moment. Is your enemy the man with the net and trident? Is it the hungry tiger? Or is the real enemy the thousands of people staring down at you, the ones who held your life in their hands? Because in the end, all your skill, all your strength, all your will to live could mean absolutely nothing. If you were wounded and on the ground, your fate came down to the mood of the mob. A thumbs up or a thumbs down. A simple little gesture, and your life was over. Executed right there on the sand. No appeals, but there was that one glimmer of hope, right? The ultimate prize that kept them going, freedom. So, what did it really take to earn it? And what was the true cost?
Well, the odds were just astronomically bad. I mean, look at this chart. That massive slice, that's everyone who died in the arena. And that tiny, tiny sliver, that's the fraction of people who actually earned their freedom. For almost everyone, this wasn't a career. It was a grave. And for those very, very few who made it out alive, freedom was no happy ending. It was something they bought with years of unbelievable trauma. Can you imagine the psychological scars? The memories of every death you witnessed, every person you had to kill, the constant state of fear? Survival itself was its own kind of life sentence. And this is so crucial to remember. Popularity didn't change a thing about their status. A gladiator could be a superstar with thousands chanting his name, but he was still a slave. He was still owned. And the moment he couldn't fight anymore, the moment he wasn't entertaining, he was disposable.
So we come full circle, back to this fundamental truth. This whole bloody spectacle was never about glory. It was a desperate, ugly, daily fight just to stay alive, and a system that was designed to chew you up and spit you out for sport.
And that leaves us with one last, really uncomfortable question. When we look back at the Colosseum and the Roman Games, are we really looking at a form of ancient entertainment? Or are we just looking at a systematic, state-sanctioned atrocity on a horrifying scale?